The same people that believed Jussie Smollett have been lecturing me for the past several years on medical advice. And many of these same people are threatening to censor my accounts and ban me for disagreeing with them. And these are the people who believed Jussie Smollett. The same people who believed Jussie Smollett are now lecturing me on Ukraine. And they're threatening censorship against anyone who disagrees with them. These people are deranged. They are psychotic. The reality is, in many circumstances, they're just fighting a war. And that war involves you. You are the target. They want you to believe what they want you to believe. And the same is true for our adversaries or for the other factions involved in this conflict. We have this story that's going viral because and it deserves to. I love it. It's so good. Maria Bartiromo, she made a statement. She said, we have doubled our oil imports. Well, actually said we have doubled our imports from Russia in the last year, referring to oil. PolitiFact says, mostly false. Okay. The question is it a true statement that we have doubled our oil imports from Russia in the last year? Well, PolitiFact's headline for the article is, the U.S. did not double oil imports from Russia in the last year. Thank you for clearing that up, Jacob Reyes. I was confused because Maria Bartiromo said it was true. Oh, okay. What's this? There's more in the article if your time is short. They say the U.S. did double the amount of crude oil imported from Russia last year. Wait, what? The U.S. did not double oil imports from Russia in the last year. And then it says, if your time is short, the U.S. did double the amount of crude oil imported from Russia last year. Bravo to all of the people who believed Jussie Smollett. That will forever be your badge of honor. To all the people who believed the Covington lies, or the fake Michael Brown story, or the fake George Floyd story, or the fake Ahmaud Arbery story. The list goes on. And now you want me to believe you about Ukraine. So we got guys working here over at the castle. We got a lot of work being done, concrete getting poured, all that good stuff. And I had one of the workers say to me, what do you think's going to happen with this war? I mean, I'm hearing that Putin is bombing kids and civilians. And I said, why would he do that? And the response was, I don't know. Why would he? And I'm like, I don't know. Why would Vladimir Putin bomb kids? Could it be collateral damage? It could be. In all seriousness, it could be. It could be there's a target, which is a government building, which is critical infrastructure for the operation of Ukraine, and Putin wants it destroyed, and there's kids nearby. Okay, that's true. It could also be they're lying to you. They're lying to you because they want you to hate Vladimir Putin. They want you to hate Russia. They want you to hate Russians. And this is a really good example. How does this work? You may be asking me, Tim, if the article says two different things at the same time, isn't it just a bunk article? Yes, but we're talking about algorithms and subtle manipulation. You see, the headline of this article is, the U.S. did not double oil imports from Russia in the last year. So when you Google search, or if you post on Facebook, anything that contradicts the narrative, they can use this article to debunk both. Maybe you say they didn't. Maybe they want to debunk you and they'll say it's a lie. Here's proof. PolitiFact. PolitiFact, part of the Poynter Institute. The Poynter Institute is who certifies fact checkers on Facebook. They are manipulating you. They think you're stupid. They want to control what you think, what you see, what you hear, what you believe. I cannot tell you what is true necessarily. I can only be that guide hacking away the vines as we both make our way through this patch of overgrowth. Did the U.S. double the amount of crude oil imported? I don't know. The article says both. Now, truth be told, there are many sources saying we did. What PolitiFact is doing is trying to obfuscate the fact that we currently get oil from Russia while we're at war with them, because something don't add up, does it? Now, let's get to the nuance of how they manipulate. There's actually more in the time is short section. It says the most recent data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration shows the U.S. increased its oil imports from Russia by about 28% in the first 11 months of 2021. The U.S. did double the amount of crude oil imported from Russia last year, but Russia accounts for only 3% of overall U.S. crude oil imports in 2021. Does that mean what Maria Bartiromo said is false. No, what she said is objectively and definitively true. So what dirty game are they playing? I suppose they want to keep people stupid, in the dark, and confused. And this explains a large portion of the country, maybe half of the voting bloc. Mindless, non-player characters who will believe whatever they're told to believe. And these are the people who go out and vote for Joe Biden. There are a lot of dumb people, in my opinion, who vote for Donald Trump, of course, because there are a lot of dumb people. But I feel like it's the perfect bell curve. You ever see the bell curve meme, where it's a really dumb guy in the back and a really smart guy in the front and average guy in the middle at the top of the curve? And you see all the stupid people being like, hey, I voted for Trump. And then you have the people in the middle crying, being like, no, you have to vote for Joe Biden. And then you have all the smart people being like, Trump is the clear path forward. The reason Trump is because smart people will tell you that Trump represents a lot of bad stuff. He's brash, he's egotistical, arrogant, potty-mouthed, but he did care about this country. He did want to secure our border, something the United States needs for its survival of the community. He wanted to get rid of these agreements like the TPP, which would give foreign governments control over consumerism in the United States. For all of the really bad things Trump represented, he was going to make your life better. As an American who votes, that's your goal. Now, it's possible you're an American who wants to see the country burn to the ground, and you'd vote against its interests. So that makes sense, I suppose, if you voted for Joe Biden. But the reality is, I think they just keep people stupid and in the dark, so you vote for someone like Joe Biden because they can't take that away from you. Now, they'd love to. They would love to get to the point where they can rule by decree, which they've been doing, where they take away your firearms and your right to defend yourself, which they've been doing. And one grain of sand at a time, they have been gaining ground because of the non-player character people in this country, the NPCs, the people who believed Covington, the Covington story, the people who believed the Jussie Smollett story, the people who still believe hands up, don't shoot. Remember that one? The people who still believe Ahmaud Arbery was just jogging. The prosecutor in that case said he was a felony burglary suspect. But the media can put out lies. And what the left does is they'll take out of context video. Here's what they did. When I said the Ahmaud Arbery thing was a lie, referencing that the prosecutor actually said Arbery was a felony burglary suspect, they clip out that part. They don't tell you the truth. And they say, can you believe Tim Pool is saying the Ahmaud Arbery story is a lie? I'll say it a million times because it's true. It is true. Ahmaud Arbery was not jogging. He wasn't. Now, whether or not any of that stuff happened, that's a moral question. I think it was wrong for the most part, because there's difficult moral and ethical questions involved. But the goal here, in my opinion, is to be honest, to help you understand the world, and to break free from the matrix. Here we can see the goal of PolitiFact is not to do that. What they are doing here is not helping you understand the world. They're making it harder for you to understand the world. The goal of the fact checker is not to help you understand. It is to make it harder for you to understand. Because anyone who reads this is going to be confused. What are you talking about? They doubled. You're saying they didn't, but they did? You see, they're playing a dirty game. Oil imports and crude oil imports are different things. Then you don't know what Maria Bartiromo was talking about because look at this, they added the word oil. Maybe she meant crude. What if I changed this from oil to crude and then said it was mostly true? They're lying to control you. But let's talk about what's going on with censorship. From The Verge, YouTube blocks Russian news channel RT and Sputnik in Europe. Move follows similar blocks on Facebook and Instagram. In fact, we have this from Timcast. YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok block Russian state media in Europe. TikTok I find interesting because that's Chinese. It's very interesting. Multiple social media outlets have taken aim at propaganda from state-owned Russian media. I agree, it is propaganda. But keep in mind, the content being produced by the American corporate press is also propaganda. What is true? I don't know. I try to think about motivations for people. I try to understand, what are Putin's motivations? What's going on in Ukraine? And truth be told, I probably only know 1% of what's really happening in Ukraine. And I was there and I talked to a lot of people, but there's probably a lot more going on we don't know. I think that's a reasonable conclusion. With that being said, I condemn the invasion outright. I think it's wrong. I think Putin has become desperate and he thinks he's going to take this country or pull out. He's going to do regime change by force. Never a fan of that. The influence games the U.S. has played It's bending the rules. But bribing and offering money and political influence and loans, it's like, we don't like it, but it's better than conquest, I suppose. It's a form of conquest for sure, but Russia can't compete with the US, so they're like, we'll go in and blow stuff up. That to me is insane. But there's difficult questions. And those questions are now, as we're learning about what's happening in Ukraine, who benefits? There's a story today. Kharkiv, a bombing. Who did it and why? Well, I saw a video of a bombing, a missile strike. I hear people yelling in a language I can't understand. And then I'm told by American state media, the same people who believed Jussie Smollett, mind you, that it was the Russians bombing civilians. I heard they bombed a shopping mall for no reason. That's insane. Russia has limited militaristic capabilities. They have around half to, I think, maybe like 60% of the capabilities of NATO. More nuclear weapons, but a lot less ground troops. Why would they waste? Why would Russia waste rockets, missiles, artillery fire on a civilian building? What do they have to gain by it? Could it be there was a military installation disguised as civilian buildings? Possible. Could it be that Russia didn't actually do it? It's also possible. But I tell you this. In the court of law, we present our cases. When someone says, let's say a civil lawsuit, I accuse you. Well, then a judge says, come before me and present your evidence, and we will have a discussion about this. And sometimes juries are involved. And criminal cases, the state says, here's what we believe, and you offer up your defense. Both sides are able to offer up a full and effective defense. Not always. Sometimes evidence is excluded. Some people think it's wrong, but typically a judge tries to be fair. Sometimes you have corrupt judges. What we're dealing with now on the global stage is stories and accusations of war crimes by Vladimir Putin, which it's possible. Don't get me wrong. I think he's driven by ideology for sure. But there's no court. There's no judge. There's no arbiter to say, present your evidence. This evidence is excluded. This evidence is included. What's happening is claims are being made while major corporations who have lied, who have gaslit us, are now trying to stop Russia from speaking at all. And so you see, media outlets Russia Today and Sputnik have had their social media access in the EU essentially shut down as major online platforms take aim at the Russian state-owned media companies. They say on Sunday following the invasion of Ukraine, the EU announced it would ban Russian state media from its various countries. The state-owned Russia Today and Sputnik and their subsidiaries will no longer be able to spread their lies to justify Putin's war. The president of global policy at Facebook and Instagram parent company Meta, Nick Clegg, said in a tweet Monday that multiple governments had requested the platforms restrict access by the Russian media companies. Meta had previously announced that Russian state media outlets would not have access to place ads or monetize content on various platforms. Why? Should there not be an opportunity for Russia to state its case? You see, with war happening and there being no arbiter, you effectively have two parties to a major dispute, a war, and no rule set to resolve it. So, are civilians being bombed? I've not seen any direct footage of civilians in the aftermath of a bombing. I have seen footage of bombings. I have not seen footage of who launched these bombs. So, let's go back to Covington. Remember this? Nick Covington is on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Let me tell you where my mind is. This video gets sent to me. People are tweeting at me, and they're like, Tim, you got to talk about this. Respond to this. This is gross. Even conservatives, people on the right were like, this is abhorrent behavior. We reject it. And I watched this clip of this kid standing in front of a guy banging a drum, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening. I have no conclusions to draw. It's just a kid standing there. Who did what? What's happening? And people were like, look at him. He's all smug, and he's in this guy's face. And I'm like, but I have no idea what this is. It's just two people standing in front of each other. You see, people have their bias. On the left, they immediately assumed this kid was the bad guy with his MAGA hat. And on the right, they said, oh no, some snooty kid's making us look bad. Better yell at the kid. Good job, right? And then it turns out the kid was minding his own business when the Native American got in his face. Take a look now what's happening in Ukraine and apply the same logic. The same people who lied about Michael Brown, the same people who lied about all the COVID stuff, the same people who lied about Jussie Smollett, the same people who are still lying about Ahmaud Arbery, the same people who lied about the rioting and the violence, or I should say the peaceful BLM protests. They're now telling me stuff about Ukraine, and I'm kind of like, I got to be honest. I've not seen evidence to back up your claims, so I'm a bit skeptical, but why should I give you the benefit of the doubt After everything the media has done, why should I believe anything they say? You think I'm going to believe Putin? You're crazy. No, that's insane as well. Two competing interests, both pushing their agendas, both believing they're right and justified in what they do to get what they want. Because you think it's just the West? Human Rights Watch says with war, censorship reaches new heights. Russian authorities have threatened to fine or block 10 Russian independent media outlets if they do not delete publications about the war in Ukraine, Human Rights Watch said today. Now, I don't know why I should trust Human Rights Watch. I got to be honest. The New York Times says Russia intensifies censorship campaign pressuring tech giants. I don't know if I should believe the New York Times. And therein lies the big challenge. What if these outlets are lying to us as well? They're lying to us about what Russia is doing and if Russia's really censoring people. My understanding is that Russia does censor people. Maybe not in the same way. Maybe if you go against their interests. Maybe that is the same way, to be completely honest. If we're to operate on a who benefits mentality, I think it's fair to say that Russia is likely censoring people in Russia. I've seen videos of protesters being arrested, and the West is doing the same thing. Why? They don't care about your immediate needs, neither Russia nor the US nor NATO. They care about winning their conflict by any means necessary. I think what we're seeing with the U.S. support of Ukraine, even in the face of reporting about the Azov Battalion, Nazis, effectively neo-Nazis, you can see that the U.S. has no real adherence to any of these ideologies. They're just saying what they can to gain power and to manipulate. And you know what? It works. It does. We're in desperate need of truth. We're in desperate need of a place where we can have conversations and get real information, but it's gone. Long ago, the powers that be in the U.S. realized that news organizations were a serious threat. We ended up with, I think, a couple different CIA operations, Paperclip, I think it was, and Mockingbird, where you effectively had agents placed as journalists. Questions about that. Yeah, I don't know the full details on those operations, but it's a thing that happened. Now, there's a good meme. It's someone tweeted, look, I know the CIA did awful stuff in the 40s, or in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s, and there's never been any real accountability, but of course, they're not doing anything wrong today. I don't know how long the CIA has been around, but you get the point. Why should we believe what they're saying? Perhaps Putin is right. Perhaps there is a liberal economic order, a liberal world order that is failing and struggling to gain control over the world. But maybe he's a bad guy too. And that's it. But we really don't know. The issue is one side says I'm telling the truth. One side says I'm telling the truth. And both sides accuse each other of lying. It's a conversation I had with Stephen Marsh, who wrote the book, The Next Civil War. The scenario I gave him is the story of the two men, one who tells the truth and one always lies. You're walking down a road and you come to a fork. One path leads to certain doom and one path leads to paradise. Standing at each of the road is a man. One of these men always lies. One of these men always tells the truth. How do you know which road to take? The answer, many of you probably know, because I've said it before too, but you maybe know this one, is to ask either of the men what the other person would say and take the opposite path. Because if you're talking to someone who was honest, you said, which path would that guy tell me to take? The liar would tell you to take the wrong path. Well, of course, then you want to go down the opposite one because that would be the right path. Let's say you ask the guy who's dishonest and you say, what path would the honest guy tell me to take? He's going to lie to you and tell you to go down the wrong path. So you take the opposite path. You see how it works. There's a challenge here then. You know, how we apply that concept and that principle to what we're seeing in the media. Vladimir Putin says, I am telling the truth. Watch my media and hear me. And the West says, no, we're telling the truth. Watch our media. Hear us. And I'm like, maybe there is no one telling the truth. And that's the big problem with this analogy. Maybe both sides are just lying. We don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. I can tell you this. You have earned no favor, no quarter with me, media, when you lie, cheat, and steal. When you lie about everything, when you lock us down, when you manipulate, when you spit in our faces, when you ban us, when you insult us, when you mock us, and now you want us to stand beside you in whatever it is you're doing. No. There's a meme where an NPC is yelling at a guy, like the blonde bearded guy, the meme, and they're like, stay in your home, don't go out, you lose your job, you're banned from social media. Then the next panel is they're like, oh no, Russia's invading, quick help. And they respond, you smear us, you lie about us, you insult us, and now you want my help? No, I hope you lose. And then the NPC gets really angry. I certainly don't want the US or the West to lose. I certainly don't want war. But am I supposed to sit here and back what the West is doing ideologically? No, it's disgusting. Joe Biden is as crooked as they come. I don't like Putin invading Ukraine. I think it's wrong. I don't want any war. But man, you have dirty, disgusting people like Joe Biden. A criminal family who exploited the goodwill of this country to enrich himself. So I spit on the floor for people like him. I fart in their general direction, if you guys get the reference. I'm supposed to support this guy? No way. No, I support the United States and what it stands for. But these people seek to usurp, disrupt, and destroy. And right now, the United States is in deep trouble. A constitutional republic, as is the founding of this country. But it's being infected with this authoritarianism that seeks only to get you to adhere to the machine without thought, without compromise, and through lies. No, that's evil. I'm not going to stand for it. I don't like Russia. Come on. Who does? But this could be something worse than we realize. And maybe the truth is there are no good guys. And once you realize, when you watch the media and see how often they lie, now question every historical story you've ever read. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.